afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the cosmos today. You can call me Katchi. Welcome to Kai Chi Alchemy. This is a space of love, y'all. Thank you for all of the engagement, all of the support, the comments, shares, likes, subscribes, etc. They've been very helpful in getting, I think, to 88 subscribers today. That's kind of an auspicious number, kind of cool here. We are going to be reading a chapter from the Ringing Cedars of Russia series today from book 2. And this chapter is going to be called Where Are You, My Guardian Angel? Today there's a lot of energy coming through very strong around the hummingbird, the black cat, and the lizard. So those may be significant to you, or maybe just the theme of animals in general. And then I think I might pull some cards from the Banned Books Tarot deck if I'm still feeling called when we finish this, and see what Spirit has to share with y'all today. So we're going to be reading chapter 5. This one's called Where Are You, My Guardian Angel? And I'm going to clear the space with the sound bowl a little bit before I get started. So if you have any kind of sound sensitivities, feel free to take out your earbuds or turn down your volume, mute your screen, whatever you need to do. All right. The chronicle of my life story took me back to my childhood. My reminiscences continued up to the point where I was playing in the sand with the country kids and then broke off. At that moment, my soul was overwhelmed with an inexplicable sense of alarm. Not a single event in my whole life aroused positive emotions or feelings comparable to those I experienced that morning after spending the night with Anastasia, or with those that arose in me after she brought the rhythms of surrounding nature in tune with the beating of my heart. I described this experience in the chapter Touching Paradise. But I considered these marvelous feelings to be something created in me by Anastasia. They weren't my own. They were artificial, a gift from Anastasia. Involuntarily, I compared them with those of my previous life and found no analogy whatsoever. Again and again, I hunted down recollections of my life, as though running a movie reel, backward and forward. Everything I saw was related to my efforts to get or achieve something. Sure, I got what I wanted, one thing after another, but there was no great feeling of satisfaction. Instead, some new desire merely appeared. And the most recent years of my life, when those around me thought how splendidly everything was turning out for me, aroused an even greater feeling of confusion and chaos. The cars I had acquired, the women, the banquets, the gifts, and congratulations I had received all seemed empty and pointless. I quickly got to my feet and said with some irritation, either to myself or to Anastasia, "There are none of these healing sensations in man's life, at least not in mine, and I would say there are many lives where they can't be found." Anastasia also rose to her feet and calmly observed, "Then you should create them as quickly as possible." "What do I need to create?" "Tell me, what?" "First, you must understand what holds the greatest meaning or significance for you. You've just been looking over your past life, but even with the opportunity to analyze it, to look at it objectively, as it were, you still were not able to notice what was really significant. You kept latching on to the usual values as you saw them. Tell me the situations where you felt you came closest to a sense of happiness." "There were two situations, but each time something prevented me from feeling truly happy in them." "What kind of situations?" "Back in the early days of perestroika, I managed to acquire a long-term lease on a steamship. This was the best passenger ship in the Western Siberian River Fleet, the Mikhail Kalinin. After the lease agreement was drawn up, I went to the harbor, and there she stood. What a beauty! I remember the first time I stood on the deck of my very own ship. And did your feelings of happiness greatly increase when you stood on the deck?" "You know, Anastasia, our lives are filled with all sorts of problems. As soon as I had climbed aboard, I was met by the captain. We went to his cabin and had a bottle of champagne together. During our conversation, the captain advised that all the water pipes needed cleaning at once, or the health authorities would not allow us to set sail. And there were other things he told me. And so, Vladimir, you immersed yourself in all the problems and cares involved in the running of a ship." "Yes, that's right. There were a lot of them." "It is inherent in the nature of artificially created matter and various mechanical devices, Vladimir, that they bring more problems than pleasures. Their benefit to man is quite illusory." "Well, I don't happen to agree. Maybe in themselves these mechanical devices have problems. They need constant repair and maintenance. Still, they help us get a lot of things." "What, for example?" "Even love." "Genuine love, Vladimir, could not possibly be under the control of artificially created objects. Even if you owned all the objects in the world, you would not be able, just with their help, to gain access to the true love of even one woman." "Well, you simply don't know our women. You're spinning theories, that's all. I managed to get it." "What did you manage to get?" "Love. I quite simply succeeded. There was one woman I loved a great deal. I loved her for many years, but she didn't really want to go off with me anywhere alone. When I got my ship, however, I invited her aboard and she accepted. Can you imagine how great that was? Here we were sitting alone at the ship's bar. There was champagne, first-class wine, candlelight, music, and nobody else around. Here we were alone in the empty bar on my ship. She was the only one there with me. I had the ship set sail without taking on any other passengers, just so we could be alone. The ship proceeded down the river. There was music playing in the bar. I invited her to dance. Her figure was fantastic, especially her chest. I hugged her tight, my heart was pounding for joy, and I kissed her on the lips. She didn't run away. She even hugged me back, do you see? There she was right beside me, and I could touch her and kiss her. All this was because of the ship, and you say it can only bring problems. And then, Vladimir, what happened? Nothing much. Please try to remember anyway. I tell you, it was nothing important. Can I tell you what happened there on the ship between you and that young woman? You can try. You had a lot to drink. You made a deliberate effort to drink as much as possible. Then you put the keys to your cabin, your luxury apartment, on the table in front of her, and you yourself went down to the lower decks. You slept almost 24 hours in the cramped crew's quarters, and do you know why? Why? The moment came when you noticed a strange expression on the face of that beloved young woman of yours, a preoccupied smile. Intuitively, even subconsciously, you realized that she, your beloved, was thinking how happy she would be if only it were her own beloved that was sitting across from her in this bar instead of Maigret. Your precious girl was dreaming of someone else, someone she really liked. She fantasized that it was he, and not you, who was the master of the ship. You were at the mercy of inert matter to which you had tied your living feelings and aspirations and were choking them to death. Don't go on, Anastasia, I pleaded. These recollections aren't happy ones for me. In any case, the ship did play its role. It was thanks to the ship that you and I met. The happenings of the present are the result of previous feelings and impulses of the soul, and it is only they that determine the future. It is only their momentum, only the beating of their wings, that is clearly reflected in the heavenly mirrors, and only their impulses and aspirations will be reflected in happenings here on the earth. What do you mean by that? I asked in some bewilderment. Our meeting may well be the culmination of many aspirations of the soul on both your part and mine, perhaps on the part of our immediate or even more distant forebears. Perhaps it came from a single impulse of the cherry tree growing in the garden of your country home, only not the ship. What was the cherry tree in my garden got to do with it? In all your many glances back at your life, you failed to pay any attention to this cherry tree and your feelings connected with it. Yet those feelings have played a leading role in your life in recent years. The universe did not react to your ship. Just think, what could a primitive, run-down material device incapable of either thinking or restoring itself possibly mean to the universe? But the cherry tree, a little Siberian cherry tree, which you could not even make room for in your recollections, excited the cosmic expanses and changed the course of time and history, and not only yours and mine, because it is a living being and, like all living beings, has an inseparable connection with creation as a whole. Yeah. Hmm. Animals are little biological machines in a certain way. They're kind of an intermediary, I would say, between mind and inert matter. So it's interesting that we had a bunch of animal totems coming through at the beginning of this message today. Hello, Maria. Hello, Wendy. I'm doing well, thank you. And every living being, it's the part in the animals that is connected to creation as a whole, that does have the capability to restore itself, that does think in a manner of speaking. It may be a little bit different, than Homo sapiens, probably, but this is why this womb of creation energy is present in males, in females, in humans, in other animals. It's kind of a spectrum. It's kind of just a big family of energy, family of frequency. I feel like I've heard that somewhere. And yeah. So maybe you've been looking for an answer for a long time, or an inspiration. You've been trying to understand something, and you were looking at it from the wrong angle, or just an ineffective angle, a, an angle that created illusion or confusion, distortion. Cherry trees, maybe a significant confirmation for some of y'all. And everything that you're doing in every moment is, well, all of the impulses of your soul, so to speak, all of the sensually based experiences and the cerebrally based experiences that are drawing different frequencies and energies towards you and your life and your circumstances are constantly at play. And in the next chapter, chapter 6, the cherry tree, we are going to get into a little bit more about perspective on perhaps what it is that you are looking for, or why you are struggling to find the answers that you were seeking, because you are looking in the wrong place. I mean, it's all bringing you to the right place eventually, even if you're not there right away. So it's not like some kind of judgment or shame or whatever. I think we are going to pull a couple of banned books, cards from this deck today to get a little bit of clarification on the collective tuning in today and the messages that are relevant here. So on the bottom of the deck, we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker, Ace of Inkwells, which I'm pretty sure is Ace of Cups. That's very interesting, because that whole chapter was kind of talking about Ace of Cups energy, and he was seeking Ace of Cups energy so that he could connect to like the sovereign healing life force within himself. And he was like, I can't find it. I can't find it. I can't figure it out. There's nothing worthwhile here. There's nothing full of inspiration and love and this energy that I'm looking for. And so I don't know how to utilize that memory and that experience to generate these feelings and to pursue this Kai Chi alchemy in my life. And so you may be looking at the usual values, as she says. But the usual values rarely lead to Ace of Cups. I've never really seen it anywhere. Let me know if you have. I'm always curious how people are moving in the world. And I love to see it when people come into an Ace of Cups energy. But it's usually not coming from forcing and striving and seeking in that kind of a way. It usually comes from a shift in your perspective, in your values, and realizing that you had that memory all along. So this may be a particularly useful exercise for this collective that is tuning in today, if this message is resonating with you. Let me get some clarification here. Freya, Polly, Michael, Mary, please be here with me now. Spirit, please allow me to channel a message in alignment with the greatest and highest good of the collective tuning in today, balanced with that of the collective at large. Please and thank you, thank you, thank you. Can I get one more? Please and thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Oh, I did that backwards, I think. So we have Six of Paper, The Great Gatsby. This is by Scott Fitzgerald. Yeah, Six of Paper. Let me see if I can figure out where that guidebook went. Maybe I could read from it for you to give you a little bit of the visual here. And then in the present position, we have the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, 3 of Words. In the, in the near future position, we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. And this one is 9 of Words. Okay, so I'm almost positive that paper in this deck is Pentacles. Pardon me. So the F. Scott Fitzgerald reference here for the 6 of paper is a nod to the 6 of Pentacles, which is about giving and receiving, sometimes not in a balanced way. This is, kind of about like elitism and stuff, right? Kind of getting that El Catrine card off of there. So it's like currently you are distracted, diverted, maybe listening to voices that don't really align with your best interests, but it seems to, for some reason, because in one way or another, it seems like flashy or connected to something that you want, but it's actually quite superficial. And even though you want this energy of giving and receiving, perhaps even materially and resource wise, or just in a practical, grounded, real world sense of giving, receiving, teamwork, community. But you're actually giving in a lot to this community in hopes of receiving reciprocal energy. And that's not going to happen. You're going to get something probably, but you're not going to get anything equal to what you give into it in an attempt to receive that reciprocity. And because this is in the present position, it's definitely speaking to the fact that you're currently becoming aware of this. In the past position with the 3 of Swords with the Canterbury Tales, I'm pretty certain this is the fire suit, the Wands. So this would be the 3 of Wands. And that makes sense because she's sitting here waiting for her ships to come in, right? That's usually what the 3 of Wands is interpreted as, is waiting for your ships to come in. So you know what this feeling, what this energy, what this achievement, what this thing that you would like to acquire is, or at least you think you have a pretty good idea of it, enough so to be putting in some kind of work, expectation, and waiting for your ships to come in. But you went from that space of waiting and seeking and being prepared to receive something from this energy that is actually trying to receive more from you than the other way around. And it's probably not clear because they're all plastic and covered in mask energy. And it's all about posturing and positioning and performing, because all of these people are trying to get what they want by working together to make what they want happen through other people that don't want the same things that they want. It's giving very boys club energy. It's giving very toxic and abusive and unnecessary and unhelpful. But even in a pretty hidden, covert, confused, distorted way, because it looks all fun and sparkly. Like, parties, like cash, like champagne. But what do you really have at the end of that? And is that what you're looking to gain? So in the near future, I see 9 of Words. So this is 9 of Wands. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and Nine of Wands as all about kind of being overburdened and coming almost to the end of your rope and coming into a place of exhaustion. It's almost looking like twilight, like the sun has just gone down here. And so, oh, and this also looks kind of like the reverse, like the sun's just coming up. So this was a dream that you had. This was the disappointing and plastic experience of it, where you did not receive reciprocation that you were expecting. And it was distracting because it was loud and chaotic and colorful and fun in some sense. But even with all of that, in the present moment, you're still coming to realize just how performative and ineffective this entire strategy is and has been and will continue to increase in its ineffectiveness and its lack of reciprocity. And coming to that realization in this present moment, even though maybe you are experiencing some of the benefits of this flashy environment, of this fun, successful situation, successful seeming situation, it is kind of a wake-up call. It's kind of a crisis. It's kind of a dark night of the soul. I don't usually get dark night of the soul off of Nine of Wands, even though it kind of makes sense because it's like pushing you to your limit and trying to break you. But you don't quite break because you haven't let yourself go to the 10 of Wands, right? So this is like last stop to get off the train. I know it's hard. I know it's disappointing. Yeah. And this is also giving me that Vladimir was looking out into his past, trying to find this magical seashell of a memory that inspires the feelings within him that he would like to generate in his life as a whole, that he has associated with all the superficial things that he'd like to acquire and achieve and attain in his life, actually, like where that comes from. And as he looked out into that ocean of his memories around, his heart and his feelings, all he saw was plastic. All he saw was distraction. All he saw was empty value and performance and things that are the usual values, as Anastasia said. And as he confronted that experience, it was very disappointing. But I mean, look, isn't there a rose growing out of these books in the desert? It's like the rose that grew from concrete, the desert lily, like the plant that grows where it should not. It's redemption energy. I'm definitely getting that off of the rose. And like everything is a cycle. All things work together for good. The moon. We are all stars. And we all have a unique place, a unique dharma, and we need to be in that place, because if all these stars were kind of stacked on top of each other trying to be the same thing, it'd be really bright, but it wouldn't be fun. It would the night sky would not be the experience that we have, that is beautiful and immersive and interactive and like impactful in a lot of ways. I think we would just have really intense light in one spot and really intense dark in one spot. And I feel like that would bring a sense of unease and just not awe like this. So even though it's hard and even though it's disappointing and even though it's exhausting to allow yourself to come to this conclusion that you were mistaken, that you do have a dharma and you do have dreams and you do have desires, but they were kind of misunderstood and they were kind of distorted, and it wasn't entirely your fault. It was also people that were telling you half truths and distorting and confusing things, perhaps with the best of intentions, but definitely coming from a place of the usual values, which you have seen harm people time and again. And you can't unsee that now. And so some people are still stuck here in this energy with their plastic smiles, and they're working really hard to pay into this system, thinking that they're going to get to the top of it and they're going to succeed and they're going to win and it's all going to be worth it. But they never actually attain the feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment that they're looking for when they stay in that system. So it's very few people that see how that operates and choose to do something different because it's a mind fuck. But that's what we need a lot of the time. And so for the collective tuning in today, I feel like that's the message and that's what you need. So it's kind of sobering, but it's not until you acknowledge the impossibility, the fakeness, the places where you were mistaken, your shame, your failure. You have to confront all of that in order to have the possibility of a rebirth, of a redemption, of a resurrection experience. And that's why a lot of people don't go through that experience, because it is challenging. And a lot of people don't want to voluntarily sacrifice, self-sacrifice, choose of their own free will to do something that's hard or ego death creates an ego death. But there's lots of space for you to do that. It's like the only rose, the only plant as far as the eye can see. That may be lonely in some ways, I guess, but it's also pretty beautiful to have just like this stark rose standing on its own in the middle of nowhere. I like it. You're a light in the dark. You're one of the many, many, many stars up there. And the stars up there, they don't hang out close together. They need to be spread out. They need to be in their own space. We need to spread the light around. We don't need to all conglomerate together and create one point of heat in the universe. We are dynamic and expanding all the time for a reason. And your soul has a place to go so that everybody can have this light spread in the places that it needs to go for the benefit and the evolution of all of us, even the people who are not currently capable, willing, wanting to confront this disappointment. But again, confronting disappointment is where change comes from, where true success, fulfillment, happiness comes from. Okay, looking forward to that cherry tree chapter with y'all soon. We'll see when that happens. Maybe this week, maybe a long time from now. There's a lot of things coming down the pipeline, and I kind of just take it one day at a time and stay open to shifts and changes and evolution along that process. Again, the Celtic Cross reading is going to take a minute because I need to get my tripod thing reset up. But I will be here with something tomorrow, and I appreciate you being here. I hope that you have a beautiful day. Love, light, peace, and personal responsibility.